one game on everyone's mind, and that, of course, is CD Projekt Red's Cyberpunk 2077. This is a game that has a 50-minute behind-the-scenes demo that apparently is terrifying to one rock, paper, shotgun journalist, so much so that a lot of people out there are like, I want it. I want to see it. Please, Daddy. Please give it to me. And that's what they want. That's what they want. And they're going to get it. Don't worry about it. But when you look at CD Projekt Red Cyberpunk 2077, when you look at the kind of cultural concept of what the game is and what it's going to be speaking to, and you look at where we are as a society, at least in regards to gaming and the $100+ billion a year that it earns worldwide, you start to kind of see who's going to be coming out of the woodworks on it. You start to look at it and go, somebody's going to find a way to profit off of this, if not by fawning over it, by trying to, well, it almost feels, and this is just my particular opinion, extort it. And that's what brings us to this story here. Anita Sarkeesian tries to weasel a consultancy gig on Cyberpunk 2077. Culture critic Anita Sarkeesian is desperately trying to get back into the gaming gig again. The queen of consternation made tweets recently indicating that she wants to dig her claws into one of the most highly anticipated games due out next year, which is true. She did. She very much did. And everyone is dragging her over it. I mean, everyone on this side of the aisle is dragging her over it because it is the most blatant, on the nose attempt at getting a job through what appears to be mob-like tactics that I have ever seen. And you know what? I'm not going to lie. Kind of impressed. I had to myself said recently, I don't want to talk about Anita anymore. It's been a long time. She's doing her own thing. She's off the scene for the most part. There's no real need. And then this happens. And it's one of those moments where it's like, just when I'm out, you pull me back in. Damn you, Anita. You know, that's just how she is. Anyway, on June 16th, 2019, she tweeted out a reply to Ryan Boyd, who had his own thread criticizing CD Projekt Red's explanation of body horror and the lack of sanctity for honoring one's temple, and it essentially turns it into a profane display of degeneracy. Come on. You know it's going to be a profane display of degeneracy. It's Cyberpunk. It's CD Projekt Red. This is kind of what we expect at this point. And I, for one, am completely excited for it. Anyway, Sarkeesian, nonplussed with the existential conversation regarding Puritanism versus transhumanism, decided to hijack the topic to request a consultancy job at CD Projekt Red, saying here, hey, at CD Projekt Red, I'm always available for consulting because it sure sounds like you might need it before the whole of the internet drags you for what sounds like for some potentially sexist representations, which we all know you've struggled with in the past. Effectively, that whole line comes across like, hey, you have a nice game development studio. It would be a shame if something were to happen to it. Am I wrong? Am I wrong that that's not exactly what that sounds like? Am I wrong to assume that when I read that, you were imagining Anita standing outside of CD Projekt Red wielding a baseball bat and slowly thumping it in her hand as she just makes those claims like, hey, got a nice game development studio here. Thwack, thwack, thwack. Would be a shame if something were to happen to it. And of course, Carolyn Petit and anyone else who works at Feminist Frequency at this point standing behind her like, we're here to help you. The whole of the internet wouldn't drag her over this. The whole of the internet doesn't care. More people are going to come out and go, this is dumb to be upset at. This is dumb to be upset at. I understand what Ryan Boyd was trying to say. There was a conversation to be had with his commentary on the subject matter. He didn't like how the dev had discussed the idea of the body transhumanism as being more of a profane version, or like that would be the people who've been augmented, and then the people who want to say sacred, which are people who are not augmented, like the conversation to be had there. And that is a very interesting take on the matter. I don't agree with his assertions, but it was a well thought out argument that I felt was interesting to read. Anita comes in and essentially slides into the conversation by holding out a collection plate. Now, it goes on to say that Anita then uses the opportunity to plug her own site and promote her new consultancy outfit, which is designed to reshape the way people engage with interactive entertainment, or more realistically, to convince people to disengage from a game that's no longer made to be fun. And this is, she goes on to say here, nudity itself isn't the problem. Neither is showing and expressing sexuality or sexual desire. It's how it's represented and what values the overall narrative promotes. Video game designers, let me help you avoid these kind of mistakes. I want you to make great games that you're envisioning while appealing to a broader audience. And that includes not offending entire market segments. Who would be offended by what we've seen? There's literally no one who's gonna buy Cyberpunk 2077 that's looked at these sort of the videos and the images that have come out and been like, you know what? I don't like nudity. Not at all. Not a fan. No, just no, that disgusts me. Because the people that Anita generally tends to preach to are the ones who don't actually buy games. They're the ones that don't really leave their San Francisco independent video game journalism bubble. They stay there. They hide there. They fester there. And through that festering becomes a lot of incestuous activities. People hiring one another, friends with one another. We all know about the unethical actions that take place in not only the San Francisco video game journalism scene, but the San Francisco independent game scene. We know this. This is not an uncommon thing. GamerGate was 5 years ago almost, and it hasn't necessarily changed. There's more of a spotlight on it now, and there's people that are watching, but it still hasn't changed. What happens behind the scenes clearly isn't representative of what happens in real life. But when it comes to Anita and that original comment, right? Oh, the whole of the internet's going to drag you for your comments on this issue. No, not the whole of the internet, because the whole of the internet simply doesn't care. Does anything involving Cyberpunk 2077 have to do with cats? No, the internet doesn't care. They just simply don't, and that is fine. What Anita is referring to on that particular front is the whole of the internet drags you is the games journalist websites, right? The ones that she is close personal friends with. The Verge, that's a tech blog, but Julia Alexander writes a lot of content for there. She worked for Polygon. She's covered Anita in the past. Polygon definitely based out of there. Kotaku's based out of San Francisco. Giant Bomb is based out of San Francisco. A lot of these places are based out of San Francisco. These are friends of hers. Even a couple years ago, she did a video where she had Greg Miller and one of the dudes from IGN, a guy who went on to write Battlefront 2. I forget his name right now. In a video. Same with Tim Schafer of Double Fine Entertainment. You know, coming out there to like 25 toxic masculine traits or something. She has connections to the video game journalist industry. She has connections to the access media world of that. And we know throughout the span of the last several years that that type of world, those type of journalists are only really good to act as just, you know, megaphones for press releases. They don't bring anything of value to the table. No thoughtful criticism, no actual deep analysis. It's oftentimes just regurgitating a press release and hoping to God they can get it out before anyone else does in order to get them sweet, sweet, sweet clicks, baby. We know this. We know that Anita for years has courted them. She's put them in videos. She's talked to them openly on Twitter. She's had them on, at panels and stuff. She is so deeply ingrained into that world that this is her way of trying to get back in. Look, she's as far as I can tell, Feminist Frequency, because she's come out before just recently, like complained about EA not giving any money to fight online harassment to her. She came out and complained during the EA Play press conference. Think about that for a second. This is a woman who a few years ago raised over $400,000. She brought in over $400,000 for her 501c3 nonprofit. And she is complaining on Twitter about not getting anything from EA and not getting a job from CD PROJEKT RED. And perhaps it is the fact also that games she has consulted on, or at least perceived to have been consulted on, Anthem, Battlefield 5, they failed. We know that DICE flew Anita out there to give a presentation. Well, they tried to get a little bit woke with Battlefield 5 in a very odd way, and it failed. The game is dying. Nobody really cares about it. It's a fun game, but nobody really cares. Anthem. Need I say more? It's Anthem. Who's playing Anthem right now? BioWare is effectively like 2 for 2 for the last couple of games being crap. This is what Anita brings to the table. This is her form of activism. It is mob-like tactics. It is coming out there and threatening to have the whole internet drag them for comments that were made about the difference between people who prefer no augmentation versus augmentation. The transhumanism debate is a very interesting one, and people are going to approach it differently. If you go and you look at Anita's video series on YouTube, they're not pulling in the views. The stuff that doesn't get the outrage clicks doesn't get the clicks. People subscribe to her out of support, but they don't watch the content. In fact, I think a lot of the subscribers that she gets are people who have just hate subscribed to her to watch the content when she puts it out, whenever she gets around to putting it out. Anita Sarkeesian is a very interesting person. I don't think she's the worst person on the planet. I don't think she's necessarily an evil person, but her motivations are 100% known. They're 100% apparent. And that was even more proven 2 years ago at VidCon when we saw her in that room and she attacked Sargon. And when all of the victimization came out after that, we know her motivations. She's always been one to work behind the scenes to try to get that whole thing to work, and it never fully worked out for her. The money eventually dried up. So when that happens, what does she do? Back to Twitter, back to stirring up outrage, back to trying to get people to give her money in order for her to act as a protector for them. Who else does that? Your thoughts, your opinions, write them down below. If you like the video, toss it a thumbs up. If you're new here, feel free to subscribe. And if you're Anita Sarkeesian and you've made it this far in the video, you have my email address. Feel free to contact me if you don't want the whole of the internet to drag you. I can help you kind of navigate through that a little bit. All right, I'll see you guys later.